Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning back to the Davidson Hang podcast. This is episode 135. And whether you're finding us on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or any of the other podcast channels, I'm excited to introduce to you Tang, who is a passionate breakthrough coach. She has her own coaching practice called Tang Coaching. So she's a life and career coach. And yeah, we actually met through the accomplishment coaching program, which is a year-long super intense coaching program, and we've become good friends ever since. And yeah, I'm excited to have you on the podcast, Pan.
Thank you, buddy, for inviting me.
Yeah.
Hi, audience of Davidson's podcast.
Yeah, and I mean, just to give a little bit more background about Pan and her experience, she got her master's in actuary science from Columbia University. Not a bad school, I would say pretty decent. And then she went to Ohio State University. Clearly has excelled in a lot of aspects of life, but she's a strengths profile accredited practitioner, people analytics. She just got her professional certified coach certification, which for those of you who don't know, it's a really hard process, and it's really the rigor that certifies and validates the coaching industry. And then she's also a Myers-Briggs type assessor, indicator assessor, and a certified practitioner as well.
Wow, I didn't even realize I have so many titles and practitioner certification.
Yeah, you're a rock star. Well, yeah, I think that one of the main reasons why I want to have you on the podcast, because I think many of us dream to travel and to live a life that's not tied to the 9 to 5, right? So I just really admire and respect that you took a risk, right? Because I think many people dream of doing that one day, and you just did it. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about that process and how that's going for you.
Yeah, I grew up actually in China, and in 2008, I transferred to US. I think that's the first big travel that in my life. And later, my study and the work, I realized at my job, something's missing for me is the ability to travel. So when I did coaching training, right, that was 2017. So 2018, I quit my full-time job and started become a full-time coach, which allows me to do coaching anywhere in the world. So from 2018, I just started traveling, and I even influenced my husband Aditya with me, and we started from traveling for a few weeks, and then we just fell in love with all those places in US. We live in the East Coast. We travel to the West Coast, California, like Zion National Park. And then one day, my husband asked me, "Baby, we have idea. How about I also quit my job and then we just go travel for 1 year?" Yeah, that was on the airplane, from the flight from New York to Dallas. And before, I would say no, because I also like stability, although I love traveling, but at least I want the stable income, right, from my husband. However, that time when he mentioned to me, I think I was in a point of my personal development or life where I kind of know what kind of life I wanted to live. And I always wanted to have this freedom to travel while doing things I love. Although there was a lot of uncertainty and stuff like that, but we actually agreed and come up with a plan on that plane.
Wow.
So that's how everything, started. And then I just started traveling, and there's no way back. And I feel like we don't even want to stop after 1 year. Yeah.
Oh, and I want to also acknowledge you. And I also want to just say that thank you so much for connecting me with Aditya. Like he's honestly like one of my best friends. Like I could honestly say that we've gotten so close in the last couple of years, like since we've met. And you both just have such a beautiful soul and heart. And I'm just very grateful for both of your friendships.
Yeah, sometimes I joke on details like you're now even closer to Davison than me. Sometimes like I just heard your voice, in the video call, like, oh, that's Davison. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
also want to say like thank you for introducing him to Landmark. That's kind of
Ah,
for his personal development track. I think Landmark was a start for him.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's if you were to like maybe bottom line, like what do you think, how do you think Landmark has changed him personally?
I think first of all, when I enrolled for the coaching training, he was not understanding because it's a big investment or almost
Mm.
20K. Um, I think the biggest change on him, I think something opened up for him. He's willing to invest money in things. Like he actually registered IPAC, IPAC coaching training. That's actually a result from the
Mm.
Landmark Forum, which is out of my expectation. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I mean, you're someone who clearly like takes the time to invest in yourself, whether it's through meditation retreats, yoga, and just training in general. Um, how do you like justify that decision, right? Like, because I feel like some people are more like actuary folk, like people that are more data driven. I think they would be hard for them to justify like, hey, like over the course of your lifetime, you probably spent $100,000 on training or seminars or certifications, right? Like, what would you say to someone who's like, I don't understand how you could pay $20,000 for anything like that, you know?
Hmm. Once one phrase came to my mind first of all is when there is a will, there's a way. It's how much you want it.
I love it. Yeah.
Um, and also decision making, right? Like my bachelor, I did statistics at Iowa State, right? Master, I did actuarial science. Even my job is a lot of mitigating risk, put price tag, and quantify the risk, manage the risk, around modeling certainty, accurate answer, right? Is it right investment or not? All right. So I experienced a lot of like mental fighting back and forth and thinking a lot. However, as I reflect back, all the big decisions, transfer to US,
Mm,
invest in this coaching training program, there is a certain, like it's unknown, right? When I was in China, I have no idea how it's outside world. If they like came to a different country, like start over, coaching training, from being an actuary to be a coach, also unknown. However, in those moments, I sense there's certain motivation and clarity within me. Like I know this is what I want to do.
mm.
We in
Wow.
face of all this unknown. So that's why I think when there's a will, there's a way. Um,
That's interesting. How will do you think in general, like people, I mean, this it's not good to generalize, but like, do you
mhm.
think people from China are like more intuitive or are they more thinking type?
Um, yeah, it will be probably too general. I think I
Yeah.
just from my own experience, that at least my friends around me, maybe similar to me, who are like into higher education, very kind of want to be the winner of this path, the path of good
Hmm.
grades, good career, good salary, good life.
Right.
That path. If you want to be a winner, so I think with the decision making, probably more like if it's fitting the path, is it getting me to
Mhm.
the next level, like move up the ladder or whatever.
Hmm.
I think the intuitive, probably more artistic people have more intuition.
Hmm.
Ho- Okay, this is an over generalization. I do believe everybody, even the most logical person, have that intuition within him or herself. It's just a matter of whether it's quiet enough to hear it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So that's probably why you've done so much inner work, right? Through meditation, because you were able to like trust yourself that you're able to make decisions, and it seems like you have a peace about, where you've been, where you're going, like you're able to live in the present much more often, right?
And that's definitely a continuous work, especially inner work, and life is an adventure for me. Um, and it's ongoing. That's why I love coaching so much. It's just like a piece of me. It's like a sword of the a knight. It's like it's one. It's alignment. What I do, what I believe, and all those experiences.
Yeah. and it's interesting because I think people like learning in general. I think most people like learning, but I feel like you take it to like the next level where like you just have this insatiable hunger that not many
Mm,
people have, that you're just like, well, what else can I learn, what else can I learn, like you're always a student. I'm sure even when you're
mm.
like 45, you'll still be a student, right?
I heard there's a curiosity, and also Davison, yourself, it's a learner, right? Like you read so many books, different programs, etc.
Yeah.
I agree that I feel like there's always more to learn, to observe, like that curiosity, like also like a child, um, always a student, kind of the attitude. And at the same time, I think at least this year, something changed for me is there was some period of time I don't want to read any books. I don't want to learn any like outside knowledge. I just want to be
Mhm.
like live in that life and experience life, be present, as you
Mhm.
say. Uh, and maybe after that period, the next period is like, oh, I heard about a topic, for example, just like a tarot card or astrology
Yeah.
or body mind connection, right? And then, oh, I heard about um, someone who is into this field and translate a lot of books, and then I find all those books,
Yeah.
or even past life regression, those
Oh, yeah.
topics, and then I kind of, and then just read a few books in a short amount of time. So it's all changing. Yeah.
I love what you said about giving yourself space to just be. And that's actually the best place to be, because we're not influenced by too much, and we can, it sounds like you're just very in touch with you're very in tune with your needs and your feelings, and clearly that served you well. I think many people would in their lifetime travel to as many places you have, but you were able to do it at a relatively younger age.
Mm. Yeah, like we just moved back to our Norwalk home, and I found the postcard I wrote to myself from 2018 from Santorini, Greece.
Hmm.
And um, in the back of the postcard, it says, like experience the beauty in life and have a beautiful mind, like
Hmm.
along this line. And then like, oh, even now it still applies to my life, especially in a point that we finished our one world travel, and then we're looking forward to our next phase road trip, right, in North America. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, the being still the same, even after 2-3 years.
And then, oh, so you just bought an RV, right? Or you?
We got a truck. We're still looking for the camper.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's cool. So is your plan to travel all of the US?
yeah. That's the plan. The North America, and we wanted to go to a warm place when it's winter here.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I think many people think that, and then they might be overwhelmed with or paralyzed by like, well, I want to do that, but when I'm older, or oh, I'll do that
Mm.
after. and then before they know it, they have kids, and then before they know it, they're like 50 years old, and they're like, then I finally get to travel, right? um I mean, not to say one is right or wrong, but I do think a lot of people tend to procrastinate like their goals and their travel plans, right?
Yeah, speaking of travel, I realized I want to make a video just called Travel My Teacher. I feel like travel for me is like as I start to see the different places, meet people, especially to travel with my husband. There's so much to see, the beauty. And also in the past 1-2 years, as we travel in Asia and also stay in Puerto Rico near the beach with the nature, there's certain spirituality also like evolve when I'm close to nature. And also when you're on the road experience, there's space to reflect outside of everyday repetitive things. And also, Aditya grew up in India, I grew up in China. So when we travel, for example, to his family, we travel in China for 10 days, take them to see Great Wall, see the mountain, to meet my family, and reflect back. Those memories are priceless. Those time with the family, the connecting, and I think back about all those places I go in the past 1-2 years. That's definitely a highlight because of family. So it's okay. All those experiences also kind of give clarity of what matters to me. Yeah.
What advice, this might be a hard question to answer, but what advice would you give to folks that are marrying someone who parents speak a different language, or marrying a different ethnicity? I mean, personally for me, even I struggle with that, right? Being my parents speaking Vietnamese, my grandma speaking Vietnamese, and her family speaking Cantonese, for instance.
Sometimes don't know the language, but there is a advantage. When my parents talk about not so good things about Aditya kind of just like smile, pretending he doesn't understand, So that's a plus point. Of course, my parents will love to talk to Aditya, but he tried his best to learn Mandarin, and then he just switched to learn Spanish. And then he realized learning Spanish is so much easier than to learn Chinese. I would say, even Aditya's parents and then my parents, they only maybe met a few times because we love to take them for travel. Like one time we went to Bali, and they have both parents come to meet us there, and a family trip. And I would say there's certain universal language like liquor. My dad loves liquor, right? When the men, they start drinking, like, you're best friend.
That's funny.
Of course, food and time together. And I do feel people can feel the energy. I think both my parents and Aditya's parents are very kind people. Even when we are doing video chat, my dad will be like, how's Aditya's parents? Aditya's parents, when we video chat, how's your parents? There's a certain bond there. What is your challenge? Like when you ask me the tips around the interracial marriage.
I guess maybe it's different because we all live together within like pretty close range, like an hour apart from each other. So, and I lived at her parents' place for like almost a whole year during the pandemic. So maybe it's a different scenario because his parents aren't living with you for a full year. So, but I think in general, I guess like the breakthrough that I had recently from Landmark, I'm in the Landmark's team leadership management program now, and I'm getting a lot of relationship breakthroughs. But one of my coach asked me, "Oh, what's the language that she's comfortable in?" And I was like, "Oh, I assumed it was English, but actually she's much more comfortable in Cantonese, right? Like for my wife." So of course, like that right off the bat was like a huge breakthrough for me. I was like, oh, I just assumed she was born in the US, like English is her primary language, but because she lived with her grandpa and her grandmother, and her parents like pretty much only speak Cantonese, they don't view English as like they're comfortable with it, you know. So at home,
Mm.
I was like always triggered because I'm like, oh, they're not making an effort to like speak English, you know.
Um,
But yeah, it's tough, you know. Like I've had like a lot of coaching around this, but I think it's just more my stuff than their stuff,
mm.
you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting because when I did visit China, like with my family, sometimes I just talk Chinese. I did just follow us, right? Like on the table and having food together. Sometimes I did hang out with his friends. I'm the only in Chinese, and they're talking their own language, and I was like, just be there. Um, yeah, I think it's great that you realize whatever we feel is some projection from inside us.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's I think relationships is interesting. I think it's cool to kind of witness also your relationship grow as well, because you know, I guess I've been fortunate to stay in touch with both of you guys like over the past few years, and it's cool to see that you guys are both so committed to the relationship that like no matter what, like you'll work it out. You know, I feel like not many people do I know have this like commitment that like no matter what it takes, like we're gonna make it happen. You know, that's just my perspective. Like I see a lot of couples where like the couple will talk trash about their or speak poorly about their spouse, right? But in your case, that's never really that doesn't really happen too often, you know.
I think coaching really helped both of us. And also travel is a great way of test
Mm,
things out, or even kind of, if you say marriage is a playground, or for personal development, I think in a marriage and in a travel lifestyle, that's
mm.
definitely double that, double the fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we had a lot of stories, but every time after big fight or big, like eruption, they're always learning, and then our relationship just kind of moved to a different phase and even next level after all of those. I think also the confidence built up based on the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and I'm curious, like, do you have a common like what's like the number one breakdown that most of your clients have?
My clients, mm, I think, I do believe as a coach, we attract people like.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I think I attract, one thing I see people doing is they have high expectation of themselves. And if they
Mm,
say they do something, they didn't do it, they will have a lot of self-critics and
mm,
guilt, or not enough, although they're pretty good in my eyes, you
mm,
know. Um, the breakdown could be disencouragement or like lost motivation.
mm,
Uh, we're just not able to really feel the joy in the present moment because the critics of, oh, you didn't do this right, this is not enough, there are more to fix. Um,
mm,
so I really believe that spirituality meditation helps me to experience the peace and
mm,
to aware of those thoughts. Yeah, that's why I feel like I have more compassion, and also provide the space and the being for clients to go through the
mm,
phase to achieve the ultimate what they wanted to create in this their own experience.
hmm. Yeah, I love what you said. I think you're one of the very few people in the Northeast in like the New York City metro area who like isn't sucked in by like the oh, I'm gonna buy like a mansion or I'm gonna like I feel like you are at where most people will be at eventually when they figure out that like oh keep getting promoted is actually not going to make me as happy, you know.
Mm.
I think that's beautiful. And I like what a lot of what you said kind of reminds me of like a lot of Asian people's like contexts, right? I feel like the context that a lot of at least the Asians that I see is like they have really high expectations, maybe because like their parents, you know, it's like they've invested a lot of resources in you, or maybe, like they didn't have as much wealth, so they just want to like make sure that their kids have a better life than they did. um just being hard on ourselves, like thinking about the future, thinking about the next promotion, thinking about the next house, like next child, like whatever it is, right? I feel like a lot of Asians have this context, and I see that a lot. Some of them aren't happy.
Yeah, if that's what they want, it's great for them, and they can feel joy. And there are people actually, motivated by that. I think that's all pretty cool too. But
Yeah.
if at least for me, after I work in the actual field and doing all those things, I think will make myself happy. But I don't feel that way. I just feel there's a hole. It's no matter how much new dress I buy or go to New York City, hang out, weekend fun, and then after a while it just faded away, and then the hole is still there. Then I think that's an opportunity to really go deep, to have some soul searching, what really matters. And yeah.
Speaking of soul searching, would love to hear about the Vipassana. That's
Oh
one of those
yeah.
things that I feel like everyone has to experience at some point in their life.
Have you done it before?
No, I haven't. I guess I got accepted to do the one in Massachusetts, and then
Wow.
and then I got a job offer, and then I was starting basically the week before the 10-day. So I was like, okay, I can't just take 10 days off on my first week. So I ended up having to cancel.
But if you get the opportunity, it's super competitive to actually get the seat, because
Oh,
around here the center is very few and there are a lot of people in demand. So yeah, 2016, right? That's when I started my soul searching. I already get in touch with coaching, but I haven't really make a decision to go for a coaching training, because that's a big decision. Vipassana is, as I said, I don't even find the available sitting in near Northeast. So I went to India, because India has a lot of centers. It actually originates from India, if the audience not aware of what Vipassana is. Basically, it's a 10-day silent meditation. It actually it was originated in India 2,500 years ago. Yeah, it's a method to purify our mind, to really have a full liberation. So back in 2016, I was doing my soul searching, and I heard about it from Toastmaster speech, and a girl said, actually she already in her 40s, and then she said she lost herself, and then she went on a mountain in India, did the 10 days Vipassana. After 10 days, she found herself. I was like, I need to go. And I was like, I think I heard a voice like, come to India, here has the answer for you, and I went there without knowing anything. I just put myself in the center in a vegetarian state called Gujarat in India. However, that's a very eye-opening experience for me, because as I said, I believe the science growing up, no kind of spirits, and during the 10 days meditation, I actually experienced the sensations in the body that I was not aware of at all. And I also experienced in my body, like my mind, when I'm reminding myself to be equanimity, like not judging, just observing, my physical sensation just rise and fall on itself. And it actually dissipates when I'm not reacting. As a coach, you understand, right? Like in coaching the logical way, and we tell people like the more resist, the actually persist, right? All those, but think about that, you can experience the truth in your own body. That was an eye-opening experience for me. Another impact for me at that time is after I'm able to really be quiet, the mind be quiet, like just like a lake from day to day in my first like 20 something years. I'm always out and about traveling and doing things. And, it's like the lake is not still, has a lot of ripples. It cannot like, it's pretty like a vague, from down there because there's mud in underneath the lake. Like during the meditation process, it's as if the mud starts to settle down and then the surface of the lake becomes clear. Like I actually see us, it's just like an onion, like after it appears layers of like society's expectation, parents' expectation, family expectation, all those restrictions. The inner core, my innerst desire is connection. Once I saw that, I know, okay, coaching is my choice because coaching will enable me to connect. That was my first experience with Vipassana. That was 5 years ago. Yeah.
That's pretty deep. And you want to talk about the most recent experience as well?
Yeah, that's the first experience. Like that time I had a very clear, like I wanted to look for answer why I was not happy with all this effort, and I found my answer. And also it's really eye-opening experience. And the recent, so in June, oh my God, I still don't know how I got in because during the COVID time, right? The sittings are even less. And a lot of people need to apply multiple times to get in. I applied after coming back to Puerto Rico. And I think, okay, maybe I wouldn't get it because it's on the waiting list. However, one day I received a call from the center. It's a program that I applied even before that program has available seat. Somehow they got the right name and right number, and but I never even applied for the previous course. So until now, I still don't know how I get in. But within the same day, I figure everything out, and then I just okay, I will go. It's like within 7 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that's totally meant to be, and I followed it. Yeah.
I'm curious, like how you have such a abundant mindset. Like, were you always like that? Like even as a child, or because I just can't wrap my head around it. Like, I feel like I don't know. Maybe I grew up really poor, but I feel like I don't even have as much of an abundant mindset as you do.
Like where did you see the abundance mindset?
I mean, literally everywhere, like all of you just traveling the world, going to all these different countries, like you just doing whatever, like, I feel like you don't have a fear of, I think most people would be like, oh, let me check my bank account and like, oh my God, like they're freaking out. But you're kind of just like, yeah, like everything will work out,
I think I need to thank my husband. So that this care free side of me can evolve, can develop after marriage, because I have a husband who is very conservative, focused on the saving. So I'm the person who brings out the fun and the moment, enjoy the moment. But when I grew up, yeah, I think I always like this. Yeah, I love to enjoy and have fun at the moment. However, on the same time, and also there will be concerns and worries. And during traveling, I think my hair becomes like half of what I had before. I lost half my, yeah, I think about half. I had a lot of hair before. So I think that's probably another indication of maybe the worry or concern I have from time to time. Yeah. However, the big direction is still the direction, but during the process, there are things like moving. Imagine like you move, traveling from country to country in a short amount of time. It's a lot of details, and also travel with husband, right? Like when there's a conflict, there are a lot of things to deal with. But those are, in my second time, so this year meditation, what I see and realize is a lot of those fights, disagreements, even the things is not doesn't matter, because
Mm,
when I thought about that detail during meditation, I present to this joy and gratitude and the warmth.
mm,
And then I got, oh yeah, all the other things actually don't matter. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
that's beautiful. Yeah, I think you're right. We spend so much time thinking about like dwelling on stupid arguments that's like so dumb sometimes just to be right. Like I just want to be right. And it's like, a year later or even a month later or even a week later, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe like I raised my voice. Like that was not, like why was I so triggered by that? You know?
Yeah, that's why I said marriage is the best playground for that. Another thing I really benefit from this sitting is the equanimity, meaning nothing's good or bad, and also impermanence. Like it's so obvious, like one day we may fighting, the next day we may like be so sticky together, like be so
Mm,
good. Like, what am I angry about? Like where's my emotion, right? So during that
yeah.
moment in the middle of a fighting, I would recommend, kind of just sense your body sensation. Usually you can start to feel like a fiery kind of in the chest, or like heartbeat faster. I think the meditation really allows me to be connecting to my body. So there's a moment. So instead of just like letting your emotion take your whole action and words, you can choose to actually walk away and come back.
Mm,
Or um, yeah,
mm,
and knowing this is not permanent. It may just change after half an hour, half 2 hours. Yeah.
mm. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, we talked about so many different topics.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you, Pan, and we always call each other buddy. I really want to just acknowledge you for just being the work, like being an example of freedom and possibility and adventure and fun and joy. And yeah, like that's awesome. I feel like there's not a lot of people who aren't like, I think most people are thinking about the future, planning, what am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to eat for dinner? Like all this. But I honestly feel like you're able to truly live like in the present moment. And that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. That took some work, but thankfully, when I was the down in my life, like downest point, don't like my job, don't like have a good relationship, I started this soul searching and starting to come inward. At the same time, find a partner who is a
Hmm.
great buddy with me, right, in this
Yeah.
adventure together. So I don't think this would be possible without him. And but
Hmm.
I wanted to give myself credit to be the person, so I attracted him to my life, and then also attracted a
Yes.
friend like you, right? Whoever listen to this podcast or see us in here, and I wish you a happy life.
No. Yes, and I'll link to your LinkedIn, your website, your social media, all that good stuff, and your social media handle. So if anyone wants to reach out, feel free to reach out. And thank you so much for tuning in.
Bye.